Warm greetings from HMA Secretariat. Today's webinar is the most looked forward to, and this is on COVID-19 and flu. Distinguish and arm yourself against the virus. I request our Honorable Secretary, Mr. Ramchandar, to take over from here, please.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good evening to all of you. I am Ramchandar and Secretary of HMA, and I take the pleasure in extending a warm welcome to all of you. Today is the first webinar after the new management has taken over under the presidency of Sri Sanjay Kapoor. I invite Dr. Vasant Kumar, Dr. Garu, our guest speaker for today. Before we move forward, I have a sad news that I regret to inform the sad demise of a well-known person, Sri D. Sitaramaya Garu of Brahma and Company, a charitable company, who passed away. He was the past president of HMA and held several prominent posts, including the chairman of APSFC, to which I belong to. He is a well-known person. I request all of you to stand up for a minute in silence as a mark of respect to him. And may I request all of you to please stand up, please? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I now request Sri Sanjay Kapoor, President of HMA, to take and deliver his address and conduct the meeting. Thank you, one and all.
Good evening and welcome to the Honorable Guest Speaker, Dr. Vasant Kumar, and my fellow members of HMA and others who are evaluating to be the members of HMA to reap the benefits of the management aspects from this 56 years old association. Incidentally, I share my birth here with Hyderabad Management Association. This is the first event of HMA since the new MC took charge for the year 2021. And what better way to start with a topic which is most apt under the current circumstances. We all look forward to answers, and it is better to hear directly from the doctor who knows the best. HMA has taken the clue, and accordingly, our theme of the year is 2020, the beginning of a new management era. The plan of the year is already shared with all the HMA members, and I solicit their wholehearted support and involvement in achieving it. I thank our founding fathers, the past presidents of HMA, who kept adding value to our association. I once again welcome Dr. Vasant Kumar and thank him for taking time out of his busy schedule, and Ms. Kavita Rajesh, our Vice President, for organizing this event. As I hand over to her for further proceedings, I wish you and your loved ones stay safe, and please keep your mask on in the rightful way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay, and very good evening to all. It's my proud privilege to introduce it's my honor to introduce Dr. Vasant Kumar Garu on a very important topic of COVID today, and it is need of the day, rather I can say. And to introduce, I'll not take much time introducing the speaker because he has to talk a lot about things and all. I welcome the other members of HMA for this event. And it's a first event of us, and we thought we started with COVID as a good note. Thank you, Vasant Garu. He's a senior consultant physician at Apollo Hospital. He did his MBBS and MD from Osmania University, and he's the president-elect of National Society of Diabetes Research, which has 7,500 doctors from India as its members. He is the past president of Hyderabad chapter of physicians. He's founded Diabetes and You Society, a day society which supports diabetic children by providing free insulin and other medication. He is the past president of RC Jubilee Hills, President-elect Research Society of Study of Diabetes in India. It is called as RSSDI. Chairman of Scientific Committee RSSDI 2020 Mumbai. Founder and President of Diabetes and You Society. Thank you, sir. It's a privilege to have you here, and we will not take much time since you're pressing on time and you have accepted our request. I hand over it to you, sir. Please go ahead, Dr. Vasant Kumar Garu.
Thank you, Mrs. Kavita. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
You're audible, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I unmuted? Yes. And what about the screen? Okay, fine. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, to give me this opportunity to be with you this evening with the members of very prestigious organization. And I greet all the respected office bearers of HMA. It was also a good occasion for me to meet my old friend, Mr. Ramchandra, who is the secretary of HMA. I realized it when I saw the poster. Anyway, now we are going to discuss maybe for half an hour or so on this important issue that was chosen by Mrs. Geeta, who contacted me. The topic would be something about corona or COVID infection. And so I would prefer to talk on certain practical issues, some certain challenges, certain peculiarities of about this pandemic. Initially, it was mentioned about in the topic itself, how does it differ from the flu? Basically, corona or COVID virus also belongs to the class of similar respiratory virus infections, which were happening all over India for the last few decades. We had SARS, we had H1N1, we had bird flu. So all these infections were also fatal and which keep on happening once 5 or 10 years. Some of them are even repeat. The H1N1, what is called as swine flu, keeps repeating in certain parts of the globe every year, depending on the season, people traveling. And this particular coronavirus, as we call it now as COVID-19, is peculiar in so many ways. And one main thing is it's totally a new type of mutated respiratory virus about which we knew nothing in the month of December 2019 when it first appeared in China. Anyway, subsequently, you know the story, how whatever happened. I'm not going into unnecessary details about what all of you know. I would stick to very, very important issues which all of us, because you are all very important part of the society. Your knowledge goes a long way in spreading this information to your colleagues, your employees, your friends, and everybody. So that was one of the main aims when we target elite members of this association. So when we are talking generally about a flu which keeps on happening every year, or it usually comes 2-3 times in a year, clinically, that flu and this corona has certain similarities. Both of them may have fever, sore throat, and cold and sneezings. And you know, this flu is a global situation. I'm talking about the ordinary, which keeps happening. It comes and it's also very infective. Everybody gets it. Everybody gets cured, except the very old people with some problems. So, I mean, the death rate is not even 1 in 1,000 if you take the common flu. You never hear a person dying of common flu unless somebody is very old and when they develop respiratory pneumonia. But whereas a COVID infection clinically may look like that, but most of the symptoms are very peculiar today in COVID. Now, when somebody calls me, anyway, I keep getting many calls every day. When they tell me that they have slight temperature, body pains, my sole aim and intention is see whether it is COVID. And it is possibly COVID now, today, as we are living in this part of the world, Hyderabad. Please take it from me. Anybody gets any kind of fever, first thing to rule out is coronavirus, COVID. We don't want it to happen. So we don't want to believe that we get COVID. I know all of us do that. All of us want it that way. It's good to be positive. So these COVID infection at present may manifest either as fever or some body pains or some throat discomfort or cough or cold. Remember, I always said R. It can be just one symptom only out of all these things that I mentioned. Somebody may just have sore throat. Somebody may have fever, nothing else. They don't have any other complaints, no respiratory symptoms, no cough, nothing. But then they become positive, they become sick. Some of them, they end up even hospitalization. This is what I have seen myself as a doctor right from the month of May. So the point that we need to understand is the symptoms vary terribly. That's one. And second point is about the intensity of symptoms also can be greatly varying from person to person. You already hear that patients, some of the people are just asymptomatic. When I say asymptomatic, what I mean is they don't even know. They don't even know. Some of them have mild, very mild symptoms. Like I have seen many people who just complained of frequent headaches, sometimes backache, body pains. One thing is extreme weakness. They don't have fever, cough, cold, nothing. And they came positive subsequently. And some of them, they just remain mild like this, or some of them can develop issues, which I will come to you because I want to talk about the practical aspects. So this kind of a population are about 40% of the people who are infected are just remaining. They have nothing else. They go to office, they do everything, except that they complain to the family member, somebody, I'm feeling a little weak. That's all. No fever, no cough, maybe occasional sneezing. And rest of the 40%, maybe around 40 to 50%. When I say percent, you can always take plus minus 10. They have mild symptoms. It starts with fever. As I mentioned, one of those sore throat, cough, cold, body pains. One of them, they may have only two of the symptoms, one of the symptoms. Subsequently, out of these people, so now we have talked about 80, 85% people. People have no symptoms, people have got mild symptoms. So they range around 80 to 90%. Out of them, now what happens is, all of them are in this category initially. Out of them, you will see people developing problems, usually after any time between 6th day to 14th day. Generally, problems come 1 week to 10 days. Till then, they may just have fever, they may just have cough. And depending on their health situation, their age, their other, what we keep calling comorbid conditions. Somebody may be a heart patient, a kidney patient, a diabetic, long-standing diabetes, age. I'll talk about the age also. So some of these, sometimes you don't even know the reason why one particular person has suddenly become sick. It is even nothing to do with the age. We have seen some young people in 40s, even late 30s, developing some complications. Not that I'm not saying that they died, but they developed complications. So what happens? So finally, we need to realize during this pandemic, I was also talking to politicians and bureaucrats, keep telling them, we talk about mortality rate. It varies 2 to 4, 5% in different parts of the world. In India, also it varies 4% to 2%. We are claiming in Telangana it's around 2%. We don't really know, but it could be. It could be maybe 3% or less. But our problem is, apart from the mortality, the 15% of the people who develop problems which require hospitalization. So imagine 15% of the people getting into the hospitals. That is our problem now today. Even according to the official figures, we are having 1,000 to 1,500. Out of them, around 1,000 are in Hyderabad. So 150 people every day develop problem. And after a week, they need admission, 15% of them. So we already have stagnated numbers. So the numbers in hospital is rising. Remember this point. There are about 20 to 25 private hospitals which keep on adding COVID beds in the hospitals, but all of them are full. There are government hospitals. There's controversy about government. You must be reading in the social media. I have no issues in talking openly about it because I want to talk about practical aspects so that you know. I'm not going to talk theory and tell you what is COVID, what is not. Suppose in a hospital like Gandhi Hospital, where Obviously, the poor and middle class people have to go. I'm talking about lower middle class people who have to go there to save their lives. And who are these people who are going? They don't even know that they have COVID infection. They remained at home. Doing the test is not easy for anybody. Standing in the queue, they are worried. The relative says, you better remain at home. But suddenly develop a problem after a week, 7 days, 5 days, 10 days. Where do they go? They go to Gandhi Hospital. Then the Gandhi Hospital refuses to take them because they don't have a COVID confirmation report with them. So the Gandhi Hospital is destined to take only COVID patients. So unless there is a COVID report, as per our wonderful government's decision, they don't take the case as on today. We've been going asking them, that's a different matter. They have huge issues in Gandhi, the staff, infrastructure, but the staff are doing a wonderful job and they are definitely saving lives of the people. But what about this patient I'm talking about, who has all COVID symptoms, needing oxygen immediately? Gandhi is refusing for their own reasons. So they go to a private hospital thinking that, okay, whatever money they have. The private hospital also refuses them because they are treating it as a COVID. Although there is no report, we know it's a COVID case. Somebody developing breathlessness with fever has to be COVID. 99% of them at least. So they need to have a COVID isolated bed in that hospital to accommodate this patient. Even in emergency, they don't allow you to go inside. Please remember, it can happen to anybody. I have seen this. I have experienced this to my friends, my own patients. So they don't allow you inside because they are not sure whether they can continue the management because there is no ICU bed available. They can give you oxygen for a while. So on humanitarian ground, sometimes they give you oxygen, then they request you go somewhere else. You must have heard stories in social media where patients went on going from one hospital to other hospital, another hospital. Something happened to them. If they are lucky, they have recovered. There are people who died also. That is the examples. So what happens? So about 10 to 15% of the patients are moderately severe with these issues. They need to go to hospital because if they go to hospital, they receive timely treatment, then your mortality is 2 or 3%. Otherwise, the mortality increases. I mean, if they don't get oxygen in time. So out of this 15% of the patient, how many require ventilator? Maybe 3, 4 of them. So that's about 15 to 20% of them may require a ventilator. But nowadays they believe that ventilator may not be required, so they use other modes of pushing oxygen into the respiratory system and try to save them. So timely intervention is important now. So I started the beginning and I said symptoms can be different. The symptoms can be mild. So somebody has a mild symptoms also, you cannot take things lightly, especially if you are middle-aged or old, especially if you have diabetes or some other issues. You need to be careful throughout that for 2 weeks. And then if you have the slightest symptoms about feeling the cough is increasing, you have some discomfort in the chest, you need to rush to the hospital. And we don't know. I mean, nobody can guarantee what will happen to you later. So how do you take a decision? So it's anybody's guess what we need to do. It's an individual decision, your doctor's, physician's decision that you have to go by. But the best thing is now, having talked about the general situation, how the virus is behaving, percentage-wise, I try to roughly give you a sketchy information about this terrible virus. And the optimistic side of it is, we know finally 95% are making it, but 15% of them are undergoing terrible ordeal, whether it is financial, physical, emotional, social, all these issues they will face. This 20% of them. The families face, not them alone. Please remember, the disease is not restricted to one person, not to the son or mother or father or wife. Everybody in the family completely get devastated when somebody with COVID is admitted in a hospital. They are kept in isolation. The attendants are not allowed inside. You don't know what's happening. And every hospital is scantily staffed. People, the healthcare professionals are under tremendous stress. I don't call risk now. I'll call it stress. So you don't expect the best of the treatment. They may give you technically a good treatment, but don't expect that somebody will come and console you or counsel you or your attendants. Whatever I am telling you, this is a fresh experience after listening to tens of my patients, because I am definitely sensitive to these issues. So I want to spread this information to important people like you. So that is what it is. Okay, now let's look at the positive thing. Okay, at least out of 80, 40, 50% do not have anything, they're all right. But the problem with them is, if they don't know that they have infection, they may spread it to others. So there's a lot of controversy about who spreads the disease, who do not spread the disease, all that things is happening. But now finally, WHO keep on changing. As I told you, it's a new virus. Nobody knows about it so much. Everybody talks differently every day. Things change morning to evening, unless somebody is very, very updated, whether it can be a patient or a doctor. Now coming back to how the disease spreads. So there's a lot of controversy saying that asymptomatic patients may not spread. There is a controversy that the disease is spread only when somebody is nearby by droplet. It is not there as an aerosol. But those things are demystified. Now we know that symptomatic patients, very mild symptomatic patients, asymptomatic patients can spread the disease, unfortunately. They may not spread it very virulently, but you are sitting with your colleague, you don't know he has, he himself doesn't know he has, and you are sitting with him closely without a mask because he is your friend. You don't want to wear a mask because you feel very uncomfortable to wear a mask. So you nicely take it out, talk to him, or you wear a half mask, keeping the nose open, talk to them for half an hour. And a day later, he knows he is positive. 3 days later, and you feel some symptoms. This is what is happening today. This is how the disease is spreading. So what is most important right from the beginning we are talking about is properly covering the face, both the nose and mouth, with a proper mask or anything, whatever is available, but completely covering it. Now WHO says, okay, you cover yourself, but also maintain the distance. Both things have to happen if you want 100% protection from even a symptomatic or asymptomatic patient. So when are you supposed to put a mask and keep a distance? When you open your door, when you're getting out of the door, when you're sitting in the car with the driver or somebody else, when you're going to your office, when you're going to a shop, everywhere. Yesterday, I went to a medical shop near my house to buy a drug. It's a big shop. There are half a dozen people who are vendors. All of them are wearing masks only up to the nose is exposed. And the customers, I've seen one who is not wearing anything, and some of them are wearing it inadequately. I can make sure if one of them have COVID infection, and especially if somebody who is staying long time or the colleagues, they are going to get it. That's how the numbers have risen to the huge number, more than 1 million all over India, just in a matter of 2 months. How did it rise? It raised exactly in this way. So people don't understand. People talk a lot of things which is out of sense. They say it's a mild disease. Everybody will get it. Okay, everybody will get it. What about people who suffer? What about people who go to hospital? What about people who die? So we need to make sure that we protect ourselves, we protect others. We can't blame the government anymore. It's our responsibility. So when I say our, typically you have in the house elders, you need to be very careful. Elders don't understand, unfortunately. They don't understand so easily. Somebody 70, 80, they will think, why wearing a mask? I'm just talking to my neighbor. So you can't even talk to your neighbor today. You can't even talk to your own son or daughter-in-law if they're staying somewhere. They keep coming to your house, they keep going there. This is another very, usual way it is spread today, is that common families, married children staying in other houses, they visit you once in a week. You have small functions still, people still want to have functions, and they invariably take out the mask when they are eating. And then you don't want to maintain a social distance from your own married daughter who is staying somewhere, because it's your daughter. You will hug her, you'll take her inside. You have a grandchild who can transmit between your daughter and you. This is exactly is happening. So can you think of all this? And it's a very, very, very difficult situation if you really want to prevent this disease. Do you want to keep them away? Tell them not to come for the next 2-3 months. Keep a distance. Talk to them on video. If your grandchild is here, keep the child here only. This is about people like you and me who have places to live, comfortable living, all that. And it is less we talk about the poor people who are living in the slums. In one house, there are 10 people. Most of them are ignorant. They may be even illiterate. They don't understand anything. You see the vendors not wearing the masks. They're selling your fruits, vegetables, everything. They are going out. Even today it's happening. So there, what do we do? It's a terrible situation. There's nothing much we can think of, but we can't keep quiet. We need to do something. So all of us have to take the social responsibility. We have to tell our employees, our people, what they should behave at home. Then only you are safe. Now, many of these big employers tell me, of course, you're taking a lot of precautions. I know the factories are taking precautions. The employees are made to wear masks, but make sure they wear masks properly. Second thing, of course, sanitizing is done. I don't need to go into those meager details. I'm trying to focus some issues which are still not known. They look very small, but these are the reasons that the disease is spreading like wildfire. And another thing is, at a personal level, when we have any slightest symptom, whether it is sneezing or some sore throat or cough or something, when you suspect something, the first thing is keep away from people, even within your house. Keep away, wait for a day or two. Because you're not going to rush and do the test. Everybody asks me after 2 days, sir, should I go for the test? You go for the test. But before the test, you are spreading it to everybody in your house. This is the problem. Where will you go for the test? That's another problem. You need to search for the test. And the reports don't come. Even if they accept your sample, report comes after 2 days. First of all, you have not realized you have a problem. So you are losing that window period of 5-6 days by the time this is nicely settles in everybody else in the house. It can go to your employee or in the housemaid, or it can come from her or him to you. This is how it is spreading. So now you understand how difficult it is to control, to prevent this disease. And you also know you can't take it lightly. No, let it come. It's coming to everybody. You can't say that. When 15% of the patients are getting admitted, paying money through their nose, their experiences, if you listen, even I'm talking about those who are alive, it's a terrible experience. Any hospital. I'm not talking about government hospital. I'm talking about private hospital. Nobody to talk to you. Nurse won't be able to come and spend time with you because she's engaging 4-5 seriously ill patients. Our duty was only see that your oxygen is going all right, your injection has to be given. If you try to engage her anything more than a minute, she will excuse herself and go because she has another serious patient to attend. Doctor will just come. Somebody told me that why don't you tell the doctor? She said the doctor is spending only 1 minute with me, sir. He's not allowing me to, and I have a mask, I have so many things like that. These are all the practical issues. So today the discussion is to highlight the importance to see how we can prevent it, which is still possible, but we need to be serious about it. Don't take it lightly. All of us have to take seriously. Now we are in the thick of the problem now. Very much. This problem is very likely to further increase. As you have seen for the last 2 months, it has been increasing. It will go on. We don't know whether it goes on till November, December. God willing, maybe by November, you may see some kind of October, you may see some flattening. What does it flattening mean? The numbers are not increasing, but the numbers are still there. So by the time it shows downtrend, it is going to take time. Till then, we need to take all the precautions, which is difficult, but saving lives is important. Saving yourself, not only your life, everybody else's life, in your family, in the society. So we have a huge responsibility today, not only doctors and healthcare professionals, all of us have responsibility. I think this is the time I was talking to Telangana Lawyers Association. I was telling them, you people are legally acquainted, you know what to do, you need to move the court sometimes. I myself try to do to inform them. And we need to be very socially conscious and responsible. We need to make sure that people wear masks when you go out, not only you, the other person. So it's a huge challenge, but it can be attained. We can tremendously reduce the number of hospitalizations, number of mortality by reducing the incidence itself right from the day one. Isolate yourself if you have any suspicion. Go for the test later. Don't run after the test. And people ask me, okay, they got a disease, they're cured. Then they ask me, sir, when should I go for the next test? Actually, now we are changing the way we are looking at this damn infection. We are not even asking you to do the test. Where will you go and do the test? Pay 4,000 rupees, wait for hours together, wait another 3-4 days to get the report to know that you are negative. So what we say is, somebody has mild symptoms or whatever symptoms, 2 to 3 weeks, you are all right. 2 weeks, take complete precautions, complete isolate. Another 1 week, stay very carefully with your family members. Don't worry about doing the test. Don't worry about doing the test. Nobody is going to insist about the test now, repeat test. Nobody is going to ask whether you are positive or negative. Now, another problem what happened is after 4 weeks, people got the test done, it is still positive. Now the WHO says, even if it is positive, it doesn't mean anything, because people with even who are harboring dead virus can be positive, but they are not infected. So this disease is tremendously confusing to the doctors. I can understand how much you can be confused even after my talk. Even I am confused today. So I keep on learning, from whom? From my patients. From every patient. Whatever I told you is not so much from the literature. What I heard from every patient, I very sensibly listen to him and I ask more questions when they come back home and try to find out more and more, because the virus behaves differently in different parts of the world. What it behaves in Hyderabad may be different how it behaves in Bombay. And now they are saying even in Hyderabad, it could be different types of the virus. Some of them are mild, some of them are severe. And talking about the age, I still have 10 minutes. About the age, we always talk, and age and comorbid conditions I want to talk to you. One is the age. We always say people above 60, 65 are, they're risky. They have to be careful. It actually, what it means is people above 60, 65 have higher comorbid conditions compared to a 30, 40-year-old guy. You find diabetes, hypertension, cardiac disease, kidney disease, maybe more in this age. But otherwise, if you take a healthy old male, they're doing very well. I can tell you. Those, they're coming out with mild disease. I have seen in families where the son who is a diabetic got admitted in a corporate hospital, luckily came out alive. He gave it to his mother who is 80, 84 years old. No. She developed very mild symptoms. She's fine. So sometimes you cannot discredit somebody just by the age. So if somebody is even young, they have an issue, they need to be careful. Especially people with kidney diseases, the mortality is very high. We are talking about this 2-3% mortality. We are talking about general mortality. What about a person who has got a kidney disease? What is the mortality? We don't know. It may be 20%, 30%. So then what does it mean? If a kidney patient gets COVID, 20 to 30% of them are dying. In diabetes, it's high, maybe 10%. Diabetes also varies. I mean, somebody with severe diabetes. So what does this talk give you points? It only says the seriousness. It only says that we need to be more cautious. There is a way out, which is not an easy method, but we need to be serious because we have no choice about this virus. This is, as everybody says, it's an unseen enemy. And we don't know how it's behaving very funnily from one patient to the other patient. In the same family, it can behave differently with different patients. So there are a lot of uncertainties, but we know we can prevent it by taking very strict precautions, which I mentioned to you. I gave many anecdotal experiences of my own as a physician dealing with my own patients. And I have also told you globally what is happening, what does WHO says. I think what I would prefer to do is, because definitely there will be questions and others, so I will try to attend them, and I will stop it at this stage. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I only hope. I tried to be optimistic, but I could not because I had to share real experiences. Thank you. Go back to the.
Thank you, Dr. Vasant Kumar.
Yeah.
With your permission, Kavita Garu, can I ask the question?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Sir, I have two questions. One, you mentioned that the mortality rate is about 2 to 4%, depending on various places in the globe. And you also mentioned that the people who have other morbidities like diabetics or hypertension, they might be also dying because of COVID, and that is close to about 20%.
Or less, yeah.
So are you saying that actual mortality rate because of COVID is much higher than 2 to 4%, which has been told as of now to the people?
No, the mortality should be only around 5, less than 5.
Less than
5.
That brings me to another question, and this question will, may sound a little different and harsh, but I still want to ask you. My understanding is that in India, about 27,000 people die on a daily basis because of various reasons, including the old age. And till now, less than 20,000 people have died because of COVID-related 4 months. So on what basis do we say that this is a pandemic?
Yeah, you're right. Of course, no, I understand your question because this is a question posed by many of us. One thing is, of course, it's pandemic. Pandemic by definition means it's all over the world because it's not just India. I mean, it killed, lakhs of people in the United States, just out of COVID. And coming back to our own situation is, one thing you must understand is suffering apart from the death. As I mentioned, 15% of the patient getting admitted on oxygen, 1 to 2 weeks in the hospital. Huge suffering I mentioned to you. I don't want to repeat them. And the deaths are always underreported in India. Even in Telangana, if you see, I have no hesitation to say the deaths are underreported. Many people have died even before they are found to be COVID positive because they have no time to go for it. They just walked into hospital after 1 day, they died. The death certificate does not mention COVID there. So that's one. And second thing is, what about other diseases? There are trauma. I mean, there are people have the lot of other diseases. We always believe, are they actually less now compared to the previous years? That question is being asked repeatedly. But then what happens is, you also see why the hospitals, there are no outpatients now, very few. What does it mean? Are they not suffering? They are also scared. They suppose a diabetic patient, hypertensive patient, they don't want to go there to the doctor. Very understandably, even I don't want them to come. So what happened after the lockdown, they started coming in the month of April, May. When the disease is more, now they are not coming. So the problem is this cumulative effect. We have to see what is going to happen after November, December. What do we have? I only hope they are staying safe, taking some precautions, taking medicines, checking blood sugars, hypertension, cardiac patients. All these are there. So I think that is the answer that I can give you.
Okay, thank you. I think there is one question. Somebody has raised the hand. Madam Alia. Alia. Can you please unmute? Okay.
Yeah, you can ask the question, ma'am.
Hello. Ma'am, you have a question, please ask. You raise the hand.
Madam, it should be soon because we are running short of time.
Yeah.
Madam.
Or Mr. Vijay. Yeah. Mr. Vijay.
They can even type the questions, right? You can take the questions if you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Madam, Professor Alia Sultana.
Good evening, sir. I have a question. It's like though a lot of awareness has been created regarding protection from COVID-19, still we are seeing a very fast surge in cases every other day. So what I want to ask is still can we make any predictions as to for how long will this pandemic continue in India? And if it is so, other than awareness and taking precautions on our own, is there any other alternative to that? Because now we can no longer blame the government for this. So I would like to know that what is your suggestion? Because
Yeah.
regularly, almost at every organization, these kind of awareness and the precautions to be taken, then sanitizing, all this is being, people are being
Yeah.
educated about it.
Okay, madam, I got your point. And I don't know whether you were there throughout the discussion. I mentioned a lot of specific, very minute issues, how the infection is spreading within the family, how it can be stopped within the family members, and wearing proper mask when you are when you're opening your door, and distance, all that I have mentioned in great detail. And that's one. Second point is, yes, we cannot blame the government anymore. And the third point is that you mentioned there's no other way except preventing it ourselves, because the vaccination is not going to come till the, anybody claims, it's not going to come till the earliest you can imagine will be November. We don't even know how effective it will be. We don't even know when it starts acting, when you take the dose. Will it take 4 weeks, 6 weeks? We don't know. Meanwhile, the disease, and then the last answer that I want to give you about the pandemic, how long will this go on? I'm sure it will go on till the winter, although we expect the flattening can take place sometimes in September or October if we are lucky, but the flattening doesn't mean the cases are less, the cases continue to be there. The downward trend can come only in the month of November. So till then you need to be very, very careful. And I mentioned quite a lot of them into the minute details if you are agreeing with that point that I have mentioned. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Vasant. My name is Shravan and I am a past president of Hyderabad Management Association. Thanks for the wonderful insights provided about the disease. I have a very specific question pertaining to plasma and the importance of plasma in this context. Could you shed light on what we could actually do and what is the right way to deal with the entire situation?
Yeah, I'll explain to you. That's an
Yeah,
important
please.
question. Yeah, I thought I will leave it to you so somebody will ask about antiviral drugs and plasma. You mentioned about plasma therapy, which is now in vogue for the last, right, started around middle of April. The ICMR and the Drug Control General has accepted to allow this happening. Initially, they opened it only in some centers as almost like a phase 3 trial. In Hyderabad now, they started with Gandhi, but even other private corporate hospitals are doing this. So the issue with this is who is a donor. The plasma donor is the one who should have suffered from COVID, and he should have a proof of COVID positivity. Then after 3 weeks or 4 weeks, he should be found negative and he should be tested for an antibodies, which should be present. Unfortunately, the test that we do in India may not really quantify the amount of antibodies. It only shows antibodies are there or not. Then he should be a fit candidate to donate. And the last but least point is the blood is given from the same blood group to the other person. So these are the donor requirements. And what about the recipients? The recipients generally now, until now, it has been restricted to the people who are suffering severely and who have been on high dose of oxygen or ventilators. And please remember, finally, this is not a proved management. It is being tried. We still do not have the results. The results are mixed. There are people who have died after the plasma transfusion. There are people who say they are better. So all I can say, it's one of the modalities used to treat severely ill COVID patient. And I just mentioned about the criteria for the donor. I think now they are trying to popularize so that people will come forward, donate. And we will know about it by next month, how effective it is.
Thank you.
Doctor, I have a question to you.
Yes.
Doctor, today we are talking about the incubation period and all. So during the incubation period, what are the preventive measures and what are the basic medications one has to store at home before going to the doctor?
You're talking about incubation period, right? And also, yeah, I was mentioning, unfortunately, what happens is when you are in incubation period, you don't even know. The only time you know about incubation period is somebody in the family had a case in the house. So you should immediately isolate him and isolate yourself for a few days. So you don't even know whether you developed it or not. Generally now the incubation be varying from 4 to 10 days. It can be 4 days. Usually it's about a week, but it can go extend up to 10 days before you develop the first symptom. So that's why I said, yeah, incubation you cannot guess unless you have had a contact with somebody. So right from the day you had a contact, once you know it's a COVID patient, you take all the precautions just as you take when you have the first day of symptom. In my earlier talk, I said, as soon as you develop the first symptom, first thing you need to do is isolate yourself, wear a mask, stay away from the rest of the family. You go for a test after 3-4 days. Please remember the tests do not show positivity till the 4 days of symptoms. You need to get the test only after 5 days. And once you do the test, even if you are successfully subject yourself to the test, you don't even know when the result comes. It will take a week. Within this week, the disease will spread unless you are careful. So this is what I answered. So you need to just isolate. You need to be merciless with everybody around. And it is no emotions, no formalities, nothing else. That's the only thing that keeps you safe and your family members.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening.
Dr. I'm Ramchandra here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have one question to you. So
Yes.
what is the impact of doing the tests and not doing the tests in controlling the spread of this pandemic?
Yeah. Ram, this topic is going on all over the world. You know, WHO said test and test and test. This is the topic that our great media people keep talking. I think now we moved beyond that. Doing tests only in containment areas or in certain pockets is worthwhile. But doing tests for everybody is a waste of our resources. We need to use them more carefully for the people who need. If you ask me, suppose you and me, we can just afford to do the test. You have nothing, no contact, nothing, you want to go test, you are happy the test is negative. Tomorrow you and I can become positive also. So I don't think we should unnecessarily go for the test, but you can't even blame the government as far as testing is concerned. It should be now limited to the containment areas, to the contacts. It's important to do that. Rest of them have to take the precautions which I mentioned.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, now we are
Sir,
taking.
Hello.
Sir, I have a small this thing.
Yes.
Now,
I'm here for
now
another
we are
5
saying-
minutes. Please.
Now the government says it's a 14 days we have to take.
Yeah.
After what is the total period we have to take after the COVID also? After it
Yeah.
has been
Mm.
positive has been.
Okay, I got your point. So when you say after COVID, we don't even know when you started the COVID, when the test is done, and how long the virus remains. I actually briefly addressed that. The point is, now generally it is believed that suppose when you are positive, that means you are already 3 to 5 days old COVID patient. You have COVID entered. Not entered, you developed symptoms. COVID has entered much before. So at least 14 days after the first positive test is the time that one needs to be completely isolated. If you're all right after 2 weeks, you can liberalize things. And the government has been changing the rules when you can come back. Is it 2 weeks or 4 weeks? It also varies from state to state about quarantine. But generally now it is believed after one positive test, 2 weeks, if the patient is all right.
After we reach the home, what we have to do, sir? We have to be isolated for the further time period also. What is the period we have to be isolated?
This is, I said, 2 weeks after the test. Later on, you can move. But then when you are moving, you are maintaining the same thing, whatever I told earlier.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
I was told that virus impact is different from the blood group to blood group. I was told whereas A and B groups got more impact than any other group. And second, I was told the virus in Peru or west part of America is more deadlier than a virus spreading in India. Is it true? We have a different types of virus in the same COVID.
Dr. Vasant, yeah.
Yeah. Am I connected?
Yeah,
Am
you
I
can.
connected now?
Yes.
Yeah. The question was, what was the question? Blood group. Yeah. It's a very speculative thing about, there are a lot of speculations. A group also is one of those speculations. So we have not come to any scientific conclusion about a certain group being more prone, the other group are free. And one more point I want to add, people who develop antibodies, will they remain, people who develop COVID, will they be resistant? And then how long is also doubtful, but generally it is believed that most of them are resistant for 3 months or so. They have immunity.
Sir, there's one question from our past president, Justice Konrad Ram. Is antibody test of any help?
Antibodies, sir, yeah. The antibodies, there are two types of antibodies. This is an IgM antibody, which immediately appears during the first phase of COVID infection. And second is IgG, which appears after 2 weeks. So the confusion is, by doing antibody, sometimes you can find out whether somebody is suffering from COVID, or you can even find out when somebody had an exposure to COVID, he developed antibodies, depending on which antibody is present. But the tests are varied. Some tests don't do IgM, they do only IgG. That means you don't know whether he has infection right now. We can only say that he's exposed. So there is a confusion about it. So in one word, we cannot use it for diagnosing COVID infection as of now. Okay. That's a take-home message.
How much time you have, doctor?
Sir, another 3 minutes.
Okay, I will request Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Kanteti to ask the question, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good evening. I have a small doubt like about this diet and all. People are talking about immunity building vitamins. Apart from that, this herbal infusions. People are WhatsApp groups or YouTube. We are getting confused with so many things like herbal infusions.
Okay.
So how effective are they, sir?
Yeah, generally we believe that somebody should have proper immunity. It should be a healthy person. So there is a belief that you take good protein, B complex, vitamin C, zinc, all these will help. And there is also a belief that you take a lot of herbal things.
Are they effective, sir? Are they effective?
They should be. They will have some effect somewhere to improve your immunity. But if you ask me, a healthy person, it doesn't matter. Okay. And somebody who is really ill also doesn't matter. It's not going to really make a big difference to him. But taking them with some hope, we are taking, no harm in taking, because they are only supplements, vitamins, Z, zinc. They're routinely prescribed by everybody, but you can't just depend on them. Yeah. One more question.
Yeah, last question from Ms. Rabia. Rabia, please ask the question. Madam. I think she's
anybody else in meanwhile?
I'll request Mr. Badam Krishna Rao to ask the question.
Yeah, namaskar, Sanjay bhai. See, this gravity, when they are doing a testing, will they give you a parameter, first stage, second stage, third stage, or fourth stage, something like that, doctor?
Yeah. See, basically to confirm COVID, one thing I said, antibodies don't work. There are only two types of tests that are available. In both times, you have to take the swab from the throat and nose. One is what we call RT-PCR, which is done in more members. The other is an antigen test. So both these tests can actually quantify the amount of the virus that is present. But in these days, they are not actually quantifying. They are telling you whether the virus is there or not. And coming about the stage, no, you cannot stage. You don't know. You only know whether you are positive or negative. It all depends on your immunity, your resistance, what's going to happen to you in the next couple of weeks to you. You can just be asymptomatic, you can be mildly symptomatic, you can be severely symptomatic. The report only shows that you are positive. I think take it that way as of now. Thank you very much.
Can I ask a quick question, doctor?
Yes, yes.
I've been suffering from pneumonia for the past 2 months. And I yet have a lot of wheezing, cough, and a kind of breathing problems. So, what precautions do I take now? I mean, I frankly haven't taken the COVID test, but nevertheless have a lot of pain in the chest and cough and heavy voice.
No, because you already have it, so you don't need to suspect COVID, but you need to seriously be away from all the things. Everybody, and I mentioned all the precautions, because COVID infection can cause more problems to people with asthma,
how long, doctor,
bronchitis.
should I stay indoors yet?
Yeah, you stay there and continue your medication for bronchitis, whether they are inhalers, antihistaminics required. You need to take antibiotic. You need to be careful. Okay.
Okay.
So thank you all.
Thank you.
Dr. Thank you, Ram, and all the office bearers for having me. And Ram, I am available on WhatsApp if there are any questions. I mean later, but I cannot attend to the phone calls. But I will be glad to answer if there are any queries in the future. Because in these pandemic days, we should try to help each other and see how we can do something. So can I take leave from all of you?
Sir, just last 1 minute, our vote of thanks, we will just finish, sir.
Thank you. And the stage, the slides.
Shankar Prasad.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. It's my privilege to express the vote of thanks. Thank you very much, Dr. C.H. Vasant Kumar Garu. You have very extensively covered the COVID-related activity in a more practical way. And you have justified how the world calls it as a pandemic. And it's been a nice summarization that you did, whether it is SARS or H1N1 or a bird flu. So compared to the normal flus, you have clearly indicated how COVID-19 distinguishes itself. And more than anything else, you have been very outspoken about the private hospitals and the government hospitals. And you called it spade a spade. Your indication that our own prevention is the best medication that we do now by ensuring that we sanitize ourselves, we wear a mask, and also ensure we maintain a social distance. Sir, it has been a fantastic summarization you did. I think from the metabolic disorder point of view, the diabetes is the main reason. What you have driven is one of the most important messages for the people at large and also for the members of Hyderabad Management Association. Thank you very much, sir, for your kind presence and sharing of your thoughts. It's been a great experience. And in terms of preventive and corrective actions, what you have indicated is something which is very notable by all of us. And we will all stay home and stay safe and then maintain the social distance. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Geeta, next program.
Hello, Geeta.
Geeta.
Geeta, yeah. Let's go. We have finished the word of thanks now. Geeta ji, let's take it forward.
Thank you all for
I think our voice is not clear. Secretary Gaurav, can you please announce the next program?
Invite you all for the next webinar.
Your voice is trailing.
Geeta, you leave it. We will announce it. You please mute yourself. To all the members of HMA, just want to keep you informed. The next program is very exciting. It is on 30th of this month. And the program is going to be a talk by two very eminent people. The boss of Scient, Mr. Reddy, as well as the former IS officer from the Revenue Department, Principal Secretary, Mr. Jagdishwar Rao. And it will be starting at 6:30. So I will request you to all join and bring your friends who are interested in a topic which is leapfrog, strategies in this kind of situation. And this is going to be a very exciting talk. Look forward to welcoming you all and your friends during the talk on 30th of this month. Thank you very much.
Is it possible to share Dr. Vasant Kumar's WhatsApp number? He was saying that.
We will check with him and then we will share it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. All the members of HMA. Think of HMA and then seize the opportunity to be a member of HMA. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, thank you, sir, for attending this.
Wonderful program.
Thank you, Nagesh. Namaskaram.
Thank you. Namaskaram. Namaskaram. చాలా బాగుంది ప్రోగ్రామ్. ఎక్స్ట్రీమ్లీ గుడ్.
Thank you, sir.
ఇంటనే మంచి ప్రోగ్రాములు చేస్తూ ఉండండి. చాలా బాగుంటుంది.
తప్పకుండా సార్. Oh yes, virtually we will live. Of course, for long.
With everybody support, yes,
జరుగుతుంది.
Yeah. Thank you, Ravi Kumar Jain garu. You came all
మేడం
the way.
గారు చాలా బాగా చేశారు మేడం.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
స్పీకర్ మంచిగా తీసుకురండి.
తప్పకుండా.
It's a very pertinent thing that you made. I mean, the right topic at the right time for all.
Thank you, sir.
Exactly.
Thank you. We have more such good topics.
ఆన్సర్లు చాలా బాగా కరెక్ట్ గా మంచిగా నీట్ గా క్లారిటీతో చెప్పారు.
చాలా బాగా
ప్రతి ఒక్కటి ఆన్సర్ స్పెసిఫిక్ గా మంచిగా ఉపయోగం ఉండేటట్టు చెప్పారు. ఇంకోటి ఏంటంటే ప్రాక్టికల్ గా మనం చేయగలిగింది అది క్లారిటీతో ఉండే వరకు మనకు మంచిగా అనిపిస్తుంది. మనం అడిగిన దానికి జవాబు మంచిగా ఇస్తున్నారని అది చాలా బాగా అనిపిస్తుంది. Yes.
So we look forward for the next meeting also on 30th.
Definitely. ఇప్పటిలాగానే మంచిగా SMS పంపించండి మేడం. అయితే అది ఓపెన్ చేయడానికి మనకు చాలా బాగుంటుంది యాక్చువల్ గా. డోంట్ మేక్ ఇట్ టఫ్ లైక్ వెతుకుతూ ఉంటాము, ఆ నంబర్ వెతకాలి, ఆ లింక్ వెతకాలి. ఈసారి చాలా బాగుండింది. SMS వచ్చేసింది, అందులో లింక్ జస్ట్ ప్రెస్ చేయగానే స్టార్ట్ అయిపోయింది. అండ్ పాస్వర్డ్ కూడా చాలా బాగుందండి. HYD HMA అని పెట్టేశారు. అది వెతకడానికి అవసరం ఉండదు, మళ్ళీ చూసుకోవడానికి కూడా అవసరం ఉండదు. దట్స్ వెరీ గుడ్ అండి.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good luck. Congratulations and all the best అండి.
Good night.
Thank you very much for attending,
Thank
sir.
you all. Thank you all.
Nice. రవి కుమార్ గారు ఏదో మాట్లాడుతున్నారు.
చెప్పండి సార్. డాక్టర్ రవి కుమార్ జైన్. Hello. Sir, those people who are inside the conference now, please think of HMA as a possible platform for you. Become members of HMA. And we are one of the most, economical associations, but with a huge network basis for us. It's a 56-year-old organization. Think of HMA. Okay. And do join us. So, Madam Vice President, can we leave the meeting now at this point of time? Geeta Garu? Geeta ji?
Yes,
Geeta ji, can we?
Yes, we can end the meeting. Thank you all for attending. Yes.
Thank you very much. Bye. Bye.